So, what I wanted to tell you logically is the structure is now Sri Aurobindo has gone into the inconscient. Of course, when I say Sri Aurobindo in the mother also, but I am sticking to the poem. Sri Aurobindo has gone into the inconscient. There he has struck upon this Supreme Being, like we saw in Mother's experience. And now with that Supreme Being being contacted, and the Supreme Being, as we saw in the Mother's case, it's springing them back to the Supreme, the Supermind. So now there is a bridge established between the inconscient and the superconscient in the form of Supermind. So what this poet has started with saying that I will build a rainbow bridge, he has built, he has connected. And after this connection, obviously, there is the world's darkness is ended, and then he says, very beautifully here, in verse number 28, stanza number 28, he says, heaven's fire is lit in the breast of the earth, and the undying suns here burn. Through a wonder cleft in the bounds of birth, the incarnate spirits yearn, like flame to the kingdoms of truth and bliss, down a gold-red stairway wend, the radiant children of paradise, clarioning darkness's end. So Sri Aurobindo, like Prometheus, brings down the fire. This time we call it a supramental fire into the inconscient. So once he brings it down there is a wonder cleft in the bounds of birth. There's an opening, a cleft, a little opening in this passage from the inconscient to the superconscient. And then he says, what he sees, like flame to the kingdoms of truth and bliss. So there is, truth and bliss. In fact, in another poem he says, bridge our earthhood and heavenhood, make deathless the children of time, make earth the home of the wonderful, and life beatitude's kiss. So it's very interesting to see this poet named Sri Aurobindo all the time wanting to build this bridge. I've given you so many instances, so many poems, sonnets and Savitri everywhere. This has been his mission, to build the bridge between the inconscient and the superconscient. Had he built a bridge only with the mind and the supermind, it wouldn't have worked out that much in the transformation of the world, in the transformation of the earth. So both the Mother and Sri Aurobindo went into the inconscient and laid the bridge to the bottom, not just to the mental level, to the physical, to the subconscious, to the inconscient. So the ladder is complete. So now evolution can go faster, and because there is now a ladder, that's why he says, I think now I can see the connection. He says, down a gold-red stairway wend, the radiant children of paradise, clarioning darkness's end. Now the ladder is laid, and the moment the ladder is laid, he sees that down this ladder, who are they coming? The radiant children of paradise. So he can now see, you see the moment the connection is made, he sees the children, as it says here, the radiant children of paradise clarioning darknesses, and the new race is coming. Because until now, because there is lack of this connection, the new race could not come, and they are waiting for this connection. And we see here the beautiful poem. You see these 4 lines, the radiant children of paradise, that's exactly the same experience, the same vision is given in Savitri, is given through Ashwapati, when he sees the new race coming down. You see, that's why this poem is so complete. His work, his mission, the future, the vision, what all is going to happen, it's all compacted into the 31 verses. So in Savitri he says, same thing. I saw the omnipotence flaming pioneers. See the word I saw. He doesn't say I imagine. It's seeing for him is seeing is believing and it is an experience. I saw the omnipotence flaming pioneers over the heavenly verge which turns towards life, come crowding down the amber states of birth. The same thing. Down a gold-red stairway when? A gold-red stairway they are coming down. The radiant children of paradise, the same children, forerunners of a divine multitude. Out of the paths of the morning star they came into the little room of mortal life. I saw them cross the twilight of an age, the sun-eyed children of a marvelous dawn, the great creators with wide brows of calm, the massive barrier breakers of the world, and wrestlers with destiny in her lists of will, the laborers of the quarries of the gods, the messengers of the incommunicable, the architects of immortality. Into the fallen human sphere they came, faces that wore the immortal's glory still, voices that communed still with the thoughts of God, bodies made beautiful by the Spirit's light, carrying the magic word, the mystic fire, carrying the Dionysian cup of joy, approaching eyes of a diviner man, lips chanting an unknown anthem of the soul, feet echoing in the corridors of time. I mean, one of the most brilliant, most inspiring visions of Savitri. There's a longer passage, but you can read it for yourself. Because once you get into this rhythm of this beautiful poem, you can't stop. But what I'm interested to bring out to you is this poem, written in 1935, carries the same vision that Sri Aurobindo describes later, during the 35, 37, whatever. You see, that has been the central point of my effort in searching this poem of God's labor. It contains the kind of the quintessence of even Savitri, the quintessence of all his yoga. And I'm sure what I started with by telling you, K.C. Iyengar, K.R. Srinivas Iyengar, when he said that this poem contains the individual and collective integral yoga and philosophy, he was right. Now we see he is justified in saying that. I mean, that single line I have expanded into these 6 hours of talks to show you that yes, he is right. So we see this marvelous vision also expanded in Savitri. And now the last portion to see the last 2 verses, stanzas. A golden red stairway and an amber stairs are descriptive of the golden path of the supermind for the radiant children of paradise and the sun-eyed children to descend on earth in their destined hour. Paradise surely is not the one that is alluded to in religious scriptures and literature, but it is the new paradise of a transformed earth. These children and the massive barrier breakers announce the end of darkness and the beginning of a new earth. And then what is that new earth? I will tell you last. Now here we come to the last portion. A little more, and the new life's doors shall be carved in silver light, with its aureate roof and mosaic floors, in a great world bare and bright. The task is done. God's labor is done, though till now only on the subtle physical level. Sri Aurobindo has rediscovered the secret of the Vedic rishis, the great path, the world of the unbroken light. And then he says, so Sri Aurobindo has discovered the supermind above in the great heaven, the upper hemisphere, the superman below, under the grim foundation stone in the bottomless pit. As a consequence of Sri Aurobindo's and the mother's godlike labor, what the mother describes much later. What we see in this poem, what we understand, he says, I have done my work, but a little later you have to hang on. A little more and the new life's doors. You see, this is 1935, remember. Superman is yet to descend into his body. But all the effort and the subtle physical is done. The work is done. So from 1935 to 1950, it was almost a kind of the descent of the Superman from the subtle physical to the gross physical. Of course, he does describe that this is the last passage, but the most difficult one, to bring it to the gross physical. It took him time. Because one thing, not only it took him time, it took him time to prepare the receptivity of the earth. In fact, one of the reasons Mother says why Aurobindo had to leave his body, because humanity was not ready to receive him. So that is one of the reasons why he says, I have to bring it down only into my body, because humanity is not ready to receive it. But he will not let the Superman go back, because to put into the body is to put in, is like an anchor. Now the ship cannot move. Once the anchor is put into the ground, then the ship is stable. So the descent into the body was an anchoring of the supermind to earth consciousness. If he had waited and he said, okay, people are not ready, humanity is not ready, then the forces would have been staying there, inactive, inefficient, and waited for somebody to anchor it down. So Aurobindo says, I am ready. But for the anchoring, it's a great blow. It's not a very soft touch. It's a great blow. So he says, I will take the blow. If I have to sacrifice my body, I will sacrifice. But let it be anchored in me. So that was the supreme sacrifice where Aurobindo brings down the supermind into the body so that it is hooked to the earth and to matter forever. Now from there the work will start. What all he had dreamt, he had said that I want to build a bridge. Now here is the last act of supreme sacrifice. So that is what he did. And then the mother subsequently tells us, after 1956, when the Superman became universal, mother went a step ahead. She says now, maybe it is in the mid-60s or sometime, mother says, new world is born. Is born. So again, this is the world what Aurobindo and the mother have seen on the subtle physical. The new world is born. It is not the old one transforming itself. It is a new world which is born. And we are right in the midst of this period of transition where the two are entangled, where the other still persists all powerful and entirely dominating the ordinary consciousness, but where the new one is slipping in, where the new one is quietly slipping in. So in the mid-60s, we hear the mother telling us that it is not the old world transforming itself into the new, but these sun-eyed children, this beautiful, radiant, what we saw, the golden children coming down the stairway, the new world is coming and is born and is there already. And is part of that new world that is taking its first seed form in Aurobindo. So the birth of Aurobindo is not an accident, is not an imagination, is not a conception of somebody else. It is that new world wanting to manifest itself in matter. And that is taking the shape. That's why the mother says, it's a divine dream. It's the city that the earth needs, because something is already there hovering over the earth, and it wants to have a footstool upon earth. And so she says, many people may believe it or not believe, but here is what Aurobindo says, my faith and the will are for the now. I had never had a strong and persistent will for anything to happen in the world, which did not eventually happen even after delay, defeat, or even disaster. A beautiful promise. And remember this, my faith and will are for the now. That means when he said, I've come to achieve it, it will be achieved now, not in the next 500 years or 200 years. And then look at his personal promise to somebody. I've never had a strong and persistent will. And what is that persistent will? For anything to happen in the world, be it the independence of India, be it the rise of Asia, be it the world unity, be it the coming of supermind, be it the new race. Some things have happened already. The Indian has liberated, India has liberated, the Far East has come to a high great level of civilization and evolution. Human unity has begun to spread, even the idea. We at Aurobindo as one of those concrete steps of the human unity. And then the question of the supermind has already happened. The new race is yet to come, but it will happen because everything, he says, which did not eventually happen even after delay, defeat, or even disaster. So people may ask us saying, with the present world scenario, which is always at every day there's no verge of a third world war, can it happen? He says, even if there's a disaster, the supramental being, the supramental race is an inevitable thing. Nothing can stop it. So here is the man, here is the avatar, here is the incarnation. He says, I have willed it. It's not my will, please remember. It's the divine's will that I am executing. The divine has willed it in the evolution of the earth, that the next step is the supramental, and he has sent me for this mission. So I am willing what the divine is willing for the divine, for the earth. So he says, it will happen, because whatever I have willed, promised and seen is a thing decreed. And again the question of people, they are these doubting Thomases who always say, oh no, you're speaking too much, When Aurobindo started, that time also there's a lot of criticism. All this is utopia, how can there be human unity, everybody is fighting. We human beings are very quick in this criticism of something new, how can it happen? You are dreaming. Mother spoke to them, answered them saying, it's possible. Because it has never happened, it has never been. You see her logic? It is the new world and it is a new consciousness and it is a new power. It is possible. And this is and will be more and more manifested because it is a new world. Because it has never been. It will be because it has never been. Because the human logic thinks extensively, saying, after 30 years, we are not today with a mobile which can see pictures and take pictures. Maybe after 20 years, we don't need a mobile in my hand, I can see. We only see of the future according to the linear development of technology or of mental, etc. But Mother says it's not the new world, it's not the old world transforming itself into the new. Sorry. It's the new world which will transform, which will, as he puts it here, which is quietly slipping in, a beautiful world. This is quietly slipping in. So that is why we don't see big revolutions and things happening in a big way. Suddenly we see the new world around you. Aurobindo has had 50 years. There's nothing apparently big new. But just quietly slipping in. There were 100 people, 200 people, 300 people. There's only once Indians and Americans and Germans. Now there are Koreans and Japanese and Chinese. Quietly people are coming in. Why? They don't even know why. On the internet they are saying Aurobindo, a new town. Somebody said, it seems, I just saw Aurobindo as a place where there is freedom to develop, where there is no religion, no nationality. Let me go there. He doesn't know anything about Mother and Aurobindo. But this ideal of this universality, some people are awakening to that. So it is quietly slipping in. It may take 50 years, 100 years, doesn't matter. But the process has begun. So he says, Father ends saying, this new world about that, it is beautiful. It will be because it has never been, because it has never been. Because not the old world, it's a completely new world which is descending. And ultimately, we have here the last stanza. I shall leave my dreams in their argent air, for in a raiment of gold and blue, there shall move on the earth embodied and fair, the living truth of you. I mean, a poem which is so brilliant in its thought and its distinct content, and also in structure. You see the same stanza, the first one he opens with, I have gathered my dreams in a silver air. The same line, I shall leave my dreams in their argent air. Argent air is the same thing as silver air. Between the gold and the blue, same thing, for in a raiment of gold and blue, that is between the supramental and the mind and the mental. And wrap them softly and let them there. My jeweled dreams of you, he says, they shall move on the earth embodied and fair, the living truth of you. So he's telling the earth, I've done all the work, all that is to be done. Now that's why he says, a little more and the new life's doors shall be carved in silver light. A little more time, give it a little more time. What all I've done, a little more and things will be realized. And what will be the new world with its aureate roof and mosaic floors and a great world bare and bright? So now the mystery is the living truth of you, my jeweled dreams of you. What I have dreamt about the earth, it will become a reality tomorrow. Given the time, it will become a reality. And if I'm not very wrong, I didn't have time to check up. Somebody asked the mother, who is that you? Is it you, the mother? Mother says, don't you recognize that? I mean, I have yet to get a quotation, I had no time to this. In the agenda somewhere, I'll go and find out the exact quotation. But I remember reading it. She says, when it's Aurobindo saying, the living truth of you is the mother. The way the mother would be transforming this earth, and it says, that living earth, a la Mother and Aurobindo, would be left behind as a transformed world. And therefore she would say, the last line that I would like to quote for you is that, what is that living truth of you? I mean, that's why Savitri is brilliant, I tell you. I mean, any thought, any idea, any concept of Aurobindo, any book you take from anywhere, everything is reflected here. The living truth of it, just one line, I can find an equal here. That is in Book 7, Canto 2. Now this is almost the summary of what we have done in this entire poem. He still must travel hell, the world to save. That's exactly what Aurobindo did. He travelled hell, the world to save. Now what is the new world, the living truth of you? Into the eternal light he shall emerge, on borders of the meeting of all worlds. There on the verge of nature's summit steps, the secret law of each thing is fulfilled. All contraries heal their long dissidence. That's the new world, the supramental world, where all the contraries will be united, all the differences will be united. So he's telling about that new world. There meet and clasp the eternal opposites, the mind and the matter and spirit. They'll be clasping. Their pain becomes a violent, fiery joy. Imagine that. All this pain will be turned into a fiery joy. Evil turns back to its original good. Remember, that's what we started with saying. Even behind the evil and the darkness, all that, there is a supreme consciousness. So So Sri Aurobindo is speaking of the new world, that even all this evil will turning back into its original good, the supreme. And sorrow lies upon the breast of bliss. Imagine again oneness with the divine. She has learned to weep glad tears of happiness. Who? The earth. Her gaze is charged with a wistful ecstasy. Then shall be ended the law of pain. Earth shall be made a home of heaven's light. A seer heaven born shall lodge in human breasts. The superconscious beam shall touch men's eyes, and truth-conscious world come down to earth, invading matter with a spirit's ray. Students of literature see this word invading. It's not touching matter, invading matter with the spirit's ray, awaking its silence to immortal thoughts, awaking the dumb heart to the living word. This mortal life shall house eternity's bliss. The body's self taste immortality. Then shall the world Redeemer's task be done. That is the poem here. It is the world Redeemer is this God's labor. He is the one who has come to redeem. Then shall the world Redeemer's task be done. So imagine the future that Sri Aurobindo reveals, the supramental world. He says the whole purpose of his coming upon earth will then be done. Not until then. So Sri Aurobindo is going to preside the human consciousness, known, unknown, until that time when this mortal life shall house eternity's bliss, the body's self-taste immortality, and the new creation will be there. So the line is beautiful, then shall the world Redeemer's task be done. I think our task is done with that, and I enjoyed thoroughly. I mean, one can go on and on, but I think it's been a great blessing for me to study this poem. Because in all my last 50 years of my life in ashram, I never studied this poem as much in depth. I've read this many a time. But this time I don't know what inspiration came to me. I'd written an article on this. I've read some portions of this article. Sometime a year or two back, these articles were to be published in the Mother India. The editor asked me. But that's not the thing. Now I see that what I have written and what I have studied now, always it happens. With Sri Aurobindo, you can never go back to the old. There's always greater depths to discover. And this time, of course, it's been a great experience. And I've shared what all I have researched, discovered. And many a time I must admit that Mother has been very close to me, helping me to find material. Sometimes I didn't even know. But suddenly a thought comes, suddenly a book opens, suddenly something from the Savitri comes. And I've seen Mother doing that many a time with me. When I'm into something, into study or wanting to teach a class or what, she has often brought me the material from where she wants me to speak to the students. So friends, big and small, many and few, doesn't matter. But I think the few that you are there, I'm sure you have enjoyed the depth of Sri Aurobindo. And I have not stopped giving you the deepest secrets of Sri Aurobindo's philosophy and yoga that I know. Because oftentimes I feel I must give the full or not give anything. Because Sri Aurobindo cannot be given in bits and in light-heartedness, even the superficial thing. So maybe today you don't understand some things, but the very fact that you have understood, you have heard that will get into you. Maybe someone else will speak a little more, then you will join these ideas. And so do not be afraid if you have not understood some concept, because I have read this so many times, so for me it's clear. But for you it will take time. But at least hear it once, that this is what is Sri Aurobindo, a la Sri Aurobindo, at its depths and heights. So from there, you hear, you read. That's what happens many a time when people say, yes, Anand bhai, now we understand. Because now that I'm reading the book, I recollect what you said, and now it's easier for me to understand. So it's in that way that I wanted to share with you and try to be transparent as much as possible. But it's been her blessings on me, and I've discovered a lot more about Aurobindo which I did not know in the last 50 years. Thank you for coming. We'll have 1 minute meditation.